Improving writing. In the GCSE exam, the writing section counts for half the mark, so it's really important to know exactly what to do to improve your writing. This video is also useful when it comes to improving writing for a controlled assessment piece at GCSE level. Here we have a typical question that you might find on question 5 of the GCSE exam. So it's asking us to write a letter to the editor of your local newspaper describing a favourite place you know and explaining why others would like it. Okay, so the first thing you need to think about is the genre, audience and purpose. So it's asking you to write a letter. So straight away you need to think about how you can lay it out as a letter, and the best way to do that is to just write Dear Editor, so the examiner knows that you're writing for the right purpose. The audience would be adults because it says local newspaper, and the purpose is to describe and explain. So there are two parts to this question. So you need to start off by making sure that your writing is really quite descriptive, and you've got to keep that in mind when you're describing your favourite place. Okay, so this is a typical response that you might find to this kind of question. Dear Editor, I'm writing to describe my favourite place to visit. During the summer months I like nothing more than packing a picnic, putting my dogs in the car and heading to a country park near to Buxton. Green fields, sheep and lovely footpaths with lovely views await. Okay, so it's fine, there's nothing technically wrong with it, the spelling looks okay, but really I don't think this kind of response is going to get you much more than a grade C in an English exam. This is the kind of thing that you might find under the descriptor for the top band marks in a mark scheme for an exam. So if you're aiming for an A or an A star, these are the kind of skills that you've got to show. So if we read through it now, it says that candidates' writing shows confident, assured control of a range of forms and styles appropriate to task and purpose. Text engage and hold the reader's interest through logical argument, persuasive force or creative delight. Linguistic and structural features are used skillfully to sequence text and achieve coherence. A wide range of accurate sentence structures ensure clarity. Choices of vocabulary, punctuation and spelling are ambitious, imaginative and correct. Now, with that in mind, looking back at the paragraph that we've just seen, I don't think that comes anywhere near this kind of thing. So, as you can see, a lot needs to be done to improve what we've just written. Now, I found a really useful resource for students who are revising for their English exam and just trying to improve their English skills in general, and that's Jeff Barton, who has got a website where he's got a lot of different resources to help students. He's also on Twitter, and you can easily find his website and a blog that he writes, and this is taken from that. So this is what students who are on a C-D borderline tend to do. So he says, you write in sentences that read like you speak. So you don't think it through, you just write it down as you would say it. You use and too often, overusing but or so. Use the first word that comes into your head rather than rejecting it and fishing around in your mind for a more precise or unusual one. And that can sometimes just be laziness, so you just want to do it as quickly as possible. So you really have got to think about what you're writing, and is that the best possible way you could say something? You're not vivid enough, you don't help the reader to see, hear and smell the things that you describe. Imagine reading your work to somebody and then asking them if they can visualise what you're trying to describe. And if the answer is no, then you haven't described it well enough. Using commas to join sentences, now that's a really big mistake. If you can end your sentence with a full stop, then you don't put a comma there. You need a semicolon or a full stop. You use certain words too often, like I, were, it. It just makes it sound really quite basic. You start too many sentences with there are, it was, I am, and then you're therefore a bit predictable. So this is what a grade C, D student would do. Okay, so to get an A or an A star, you've got to do less of all of this. So to be a really good writer, you've constantly got to think, how can I improve my writing? And think about things as you are writing, or go back and redraft. And this is an example now of how you might go about doing that. So, first of all, looking at that very first sentence, I'm writing to describe my favourite place to visit. It's just really boring, it doesn't grab the reader's attention. Secondly, I'm circling here all the words that I think I've overused. So I've got two I's, two ands. So again, it seems basic. lovely twice, that's just quite a clumsy mistake. And then looking at the range of punctuation, I've used a full stop, comma and an exclamation mark. Again, too basic. Okay, so once I've done that, I need to think about what can I do now to improve this paragraph. Okay, so the first criticism that I made about my writing was the first sentence. I am writing to describe my favourite place to visit. Yes, it addresses the purpose, which is a letter to the editor, and explains the reason for writing, but is that really the most original way to start? Is that how an A-star student would start this letter? And the answer is definitely no. You need to think about how can you hook the reader? How can you draw the reader in? How can you make the reader want to carry on reading? You might consider starting with a statement. Picture this, and then start describing it in a really exciting way. Or you could start with a rhetorical question. Something like, what is my favourite place in the world? Question mark. It just invites the reader to want to carry on reading. So if I've got rid of that first sentence and rewritten that, that takes away one of the problems that I've overused the word I, so I haven't got to worry about that now. But what I do need to worry about is using a wider range of punctuation. So I would just go through again and have a look at where could I perhaps think about using a range of sentence types, because again that's a high level skill. Shorter sentences for impact, longer sentences to build up more detail. Where can I put a semicolon in to just show that I do know how to use punctuation accurately, and especially in the first paragraph, because that's creating the first impression on the examiner, and it's really useful to try and show off in that first paragraph, I think. And then finally here I've put include sensory description. I'm describing green fields, sheep and lovely footpaths. Oh, is there a better way than lovely? I've used lovely twice. Is there more sensory description that I can use? Sight, touch, taste, smell, all of those things that I'm just leaving out. And then finally, can I use one or two really ambitious word choices that show that I've actually thought about it? I haven't just written down the first thing that comes into my head. I've chosen a word that is exactly right for the context, that creates the right mood that I'm trying to create. So you've got to start thinking about it more carefully. Okay, so this is the place that I was trying to describe in the paragraph that you've just seen. And as you can see, the paragraph does absolutely no justice whatsoever. There's so much more that you can say about this. You can talk about the beautiful countryside, the texture of the hill, you can talk about the sky, you can talk about this amazing monument here. So have a go and see if you can, using the checklist of how to improve the paragraph, you can actually try and improve it yourselves.